Hey Emma, I think we're live on the Christchurch Orchard Park Facebook page and YouTube page.
I
Um,
think so. I just got a notification on my phone telling me I was. So,
do you know why we're live?
yeah, I do.
Okay, that's good because you are live, so now the whole world is going to see you. Well, hopefully not anyway. But we are live because we at Christchurch Orchard Park are running for just anyone watching out there, listening in. We're going to do something called Food for 15, 15 minutes of food for thought every Tuesday night. It's meant to start at 7:45, but we're 10 minutes late because of technical difficulties. So here we are. We've got some big topics and stuff that people are talking about, stuff that people are not talking about that maybe they should be talking about. I don't know. But as a church, we just want to talk about some of these big issues from a Christian perspective. So in the next few weeks, we'll be looking at social media. Is it dividing us? Is it tearing apart, or is it tearing us apart, or is it bringing us together? We'll be looking at social media. Is it dangerous? Lockdown, has it brought out the best in people or the worst in people? Some of these big subjects, we'll be chatting about them from a Christian perspective. I'll be chatting to different people as well. Tonight, though, we've got you, Emma. You happen to also be my wife, which unfortunately you have to do the first one with me. But you're not normally going to be here. Tell us why you're here tonight, then.
Yeah, I'm not normally going to be here, which I'm a bit glad about because it's not my favorite kind of thing to do something live. But yeah, so I thought this week, seeing as you're going to be the one asking people questions most week, why don't we start off with you getting asked questions, test you out, see what you have to say.
Fair enough. I guess I am, as one of the ministers at the church, I guess I do have the privilege of putting everyone else on the hot seat, so I better be on the hot seat myself. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was chatting to someone the other day actually about about their journey to Christianity, and they were telling me that on the journey, from not being a Christian to becoming a Christian, um, they said that as they were checking it out, it was like a lifeboat. So they said this thing about how if you think of like a ship, imagine you're on a ship that was sinking fast and loads of the lifeboats had holes in, but one of them didn't. And as they were on this journey, they sort of like they figured out for themselves that they thought that Christianity was that one lifeboat without holes in that truth.
And that's so important as well at the moment, because obviously we're in COVID. So for most of us in society, and I say this to you, Emma, but I say this as well for those people listening in at the moment, for a lot of people, it feels like we are on the Titanic, and it feels like the iceberg that we've hit is called COVID-19. And so much of life has been shaken. And for some people, it feels like life is sinking. And it is shaken pretty much everything, and it family, friendships, work, everything. And people I'm talking to now, so many people struggling, and it feels like we're on the Titanic. And so we're all like, people are looking for the lifeboat, aren't they? And I guess everyone believes something, everyone has a belief system, and so therefore everyone is looking for that lifeboat. The claim of Christianity is that it's one of the lifeboats that is safe to get on, and you can get on the Christian lifeboat. It's a worldview, it's a way of looking at life that is good, and it's real, and it's relevant, and it's safe. So I think whoever that was that mentioned that, in fact, I think I know who mentioned that story. I understand what they mean, but I guess a lot of other people wouldn't. Anyway, so what do you actually want to do tonight?
Tonight. Well, I'm going to ask you some things, sort of questions slash statements that are common problems that people have with Christianity. So we'll see how you do. Got to be short answers there, and I know as your wife how much you could talk for England. So
yeah, I'll try and keep it short. We've only got a few minutes, so we can. How many is there?
There's five.
5 questions. So we'll whiz through 5 questions. I'll try and give a short answer. I won't be able to say everything, but we'll start here, and then next week we can go on to some other interesting things like social media and that. But go for it. Give me your 5 questions.
Right. First question, statement thing.
Problem.
See God. Problem. Yeah, we can't see God.
You can't see God. Well, that's a shame, isn't it? I guess a lot of people have this issue because they say, well, how can you be a Christian? How can you have such as confident faith in God if you can't actually see God? It's like Santa. We don't see him most of the year. He only turns up once a year. You can't see him, so how can you be so confident? And so, everyone's got different ideas about God, haven't they? God's a turnip, God's a potato. I don't know what people believe about God. There's different religions, isn't there? Different ideas. Some people say God isn't a potato. In fact, you're just making that up because you want something to believe in. You're just believing in this God stuff because it makes you feel better. But the reality is, I guess it can feel with the God question that we're all just in a dark room, aren't we? Like, how can anybody actually know the answer? Except when you're in a dark room, there is one way that you can know the answer. If someone switches the light on, like I did earlier when I came in here, and then I could actually see the truth of what's in the room. And I think that's the difference. I think that's one of the big things about Christianity, is rather than it being like just people guessing and trying to work stuff out, the idea of Christianity is that God switched the light on. You know, that famous, you'll know this, Emma, the famous verse, Jesus said, "I am the light of the world." Well,
Yeah.
Jesus switches the light on and says, look, I'm here. I'm going to show you the truth about God. I'm here to tell you. So you don't need to guess. You don't need to play this imaginary, what's out there kind of, let's make some weird religion up. I'm coming into the world to show you. I'm coming down the rope ladder of heaven, and I'm going to tell you, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, I guess there's loads more problems than people would have with Jesus, and they'd want to ask questions about that. But I don't know if that's on your list of questions.
Yeah, not today, maybe another day.
All right, well.
Right, next one.
Yeah.
The church has a bad track record. What do you say to that?
I'd say, yeah.
Go on.
Is that all right? Or do I have to go on? I'd say the church has got a bad track record, yeah. And if that's a problem, well, we've got a problem with the whole of life, haven't we? Because I don't go anywhere that hasn't got a bad track record these days. And to be honest, that's true, isn't it? Whether it's politics, religion, society, families, but there's bad records around every single corner. We've all got bad records. One of the things that we do at church every single week is we do something that I call, no one else calls it this, just me, but I call it the honesty prayer. In some churches, they call it the confession prayer. But I call it the honesty prayer because it's basically where, as Christians, we get together and say, yeah, we've screwed up. Yeah, we're not perfect. Yeah, we're not saying we're good people. We're not actually claiming to be self-righteous and full of our own goodness at all. We're actually people that just say, yeah, we've screwed up. We haven't loved God the way that we should do. We haven't loved other people, our neighbours, the way we should do. But we worship a God who saves, don't we? And that's what it's about. So, yeah, when people say the church has done some shady stuff, I say, yeah, it has. So has everything. But actually, when you look at it, because we worship this Saviour who's so good, you look at actually what the church has done. Yeah, some shady things, but ultimately the church has done so much good in the world, hasn't it? Like one of our own, I've got that song, that Hull FC about Scott Taylor song in my head when I say one of our own, but William Wilberforce is one of our own, isn't he? He's from Hull, and he's the guy that ended the slave trade. I mean, there's so many different William Wilberforces throughout history. You know, people have done amazing things because of their faith in Jesus. It's done so much good. So yeah, there's been some shady things, but far outweighing that, and bad as well. Like we don't defend it. Like we point the finger, you know, we say, yeah, but actually you look at the good that Jesus has done. It outweighs a lot of it, even as horrific as some of the bad stuff is.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks. Right, try and keep it short.
Okay, sorry.
Miracles are impossible.
Problem number 3, miracles are impossible. Sorry, if I was too long with the last one. This one will be short because this one really is short, to be fair. If there's no God, then miracles are impossible, I agree. If there is a God, that's your circle. It's kind of a circle, isn't it? You know, there's no God, so miracles are impossible. If there is a God, there's another circle. If there is a God, then miracles are possible. So which circle makes more sense? Ultimately, you've got to weigh like two inflatables in a swimming pool. Which one's going to sink and which one's going to float? Well, ultimately, I think the Christianity circle floats, and there's loads of reasons for that. But you can't just say miracles are impossible. You've got to deal with the God question first, haven't you? Is he actually there? And there's so many reasons that we can believe in God: philosophical, moral, historical. The list is endless. We live on one big miracle. Everyone agrees with that. However you think it got here, it's a miracle, isn't it?
Yeah.
It puts all other miracles into perspective. So yeah, I think miracles are impossible because I believe in God, and I could give you the rest of the reasons another time. Problem 4.
Problem 4, that was nice and short. I'm impressed. Christians are judgmental.
Christians are judgmental. Yeah, I would agree. It's similar question. It's a similar point, isn't it, to the other one, that the church has done shady stuff. Well, yeah, Christians are judgmental because they're human beings, and human beings tend to be judgmental. So I take that on the chin. I'm probably judgmental sometimes. I bet you. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
You said, yeah.
yeah.
I don't want to be judgmental and point the finger. But everyone is, aren't they? That's the reality. I think everyone is judgmental. But, and I say all of that to say, yeah, take it on the chin. When I come into church, I actually meet the least judgmental people I know. That's the funny thing. So yeah, I'm not saying we're not, but I'm saying actually, when you look at what Jesus teaches us, when you become a disciple of Jesus, when you follow him seriously, the impact he has on your life is yeah, tolerance isn't, and love isn't saying I agree with you all the time. Tolerance is saying I disagree with you big time, but I still respect you, and I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to love my neighbor and my enemy, even if I don't like what you think about that. And so the funny thing is, this whole judgmental, when we misunderstand Christianity, and yeah, there's some bad examples, isn't there, that is really judgmental, but actually the reality is tolerance and love and all of these values that we have in society, it all comes from Christianity, no doubt about that. So yeah, the most tolerant people I know are often Christians, which is awesome.
Brilliant. Thanks. Last one. God is evil. What do you make of that?
Well, that's the hardest one you've left me with, haven't you? God is evil. It's a tough one. Why does God allow certain things to happen in the world? Have you ever? I mean, you must have thought that.
Yeah,
Can I just get you to answer this one?
Pardon?
I'll just get you to answer this one.
Oh, no,
why does God allow certain things to happen? The reality of this question is, it doesn't deny God's existence, does it? It questions his character. It doesn't say this question doesn't say God's not real. It just says we don't like him if he's evil. But whilst we question why do certain things happen the way they do, we can also look and go, why does God do so many good things? Why is the world got so many good things in it? So much pleasure and enjoyment and happiness as well. Ultimately, why did God send his one and only son to the cross to die for the sins of people if he wasn't a loving God and a generous God? Why does God change people's lives in the way that we, you and me as part of the church, we see that happen? Yeah. If he wasn't a generous and loving God. So it is a difficult question, but it's easy to get blinded with one side of the story, isn't it? Why does God allow these things to happen? Well, sometimes we won't always know the answers, but we look at the other evidence on the other page and we see that God is so good and generous, and we think, well, doesn't that mean he's good? So ultimately, it comes down to this, and obviously there's a lot of personal stuff that people would want to raise as well. But ultimately, behind all of that, just answering the question quickly, God makes the rules, doesn't he? He decides what's good and bad. And so even to call God evil is a bit like taking God's rule book and then throwing it back at him and hitting him over the head with it. Because he's made up good and evil, hasn't he? He's written the rule book. So then we take the rule book and say, well, here's the rules, we're going to throw it back at you. So yeah, it's a difficult question, but ultimately to even say that, you have to snatch from God what he made up and throw it back and accuse him with his own rules. But yeah, God has done so many good things ultimately. And even in the midst of COVID, what you see God doing is you see God showing people more and more, in COVID, people waking up, some people anyway, to the reality of God's existence. And they're thinking maybe there is a God. And then they're thinking, actually, wow, I can know this God because of Jesus, because Jesus showed up. And Jesus died on the cross to reconcile me back to God, because none of us have loved God and lived in God's world the way we should, and so he gives us this great hope. So is God evil? No, I think God is good. He gives people great hope. He changes lives. He's saving God. So yeah, that's how I'd answer that. That was a bit long, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, but we are at exactly 15 minutes, which is good. So thanks for that. Appreciate it. And I'm sure anyone listening might have had something interesting to think about from there, or
We're only scratching the surface, aren't we?
yeah.
But we can talk about these things more. Obviously, we meet on Sundays as well, don't we? So we've got live stream. People can tune into the live stream on Sundays as we think about these things more. You can feed in your questions on our Facebook page as well, so we can look at some other big issues in future weeks. And next week, we're going to look at the big issue of social media. And I'm going to be chatting to someone who knows a lot more than I do. Is it tearing us apart, or is it bringing us together? Anyway, thank you, Emma. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Yeah.